That was actually a spinning sidekick he does at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Spinning.
No,
It's a fucking
so that
roundhouse
game,
kick. Isn't it? That's a roundhouse kick.
no, dude, he spins and he hits when you come at you with the side of your foot slash the heel. A roundhouse kick comes, you do the top of your foot. He spins backwards. I'm almost positive.
I didn't know there was a differentiation. I'll just have to take your word for it. Hello and welcome to the bottom of the internet. This is another Dead Pixel, the podcast that has won all of its lawsuits. My name is Nick and I'll be your host. Here with me this evening, as every evening, is my co-host and good friend. It's Joe. Joe, how you doing tonight?
Doing okay. Yes, he keeps me with him every evening. Someone please help.
Shut up. I'm going to cut that. So you have left me in a corner with nowhere to go from here. But well, I mean, captivity aside, how are you doing?
Doing all right. Yeah, just recently picked up that The Witcher 3 with zero intention of playing that game. But after, like, I was like, hey man, and the game of the year, only $10 on PC. Yeah,
Game
why
of the year,
not?
what,
And
2015?
I think, yeah, it's in my brain. I'm like, once it gets to $10 for the last how many years it's been out, I'm like, it hits 10. That's the magic number for the game of the year, and I get all the content. And plus, with the new the new update coming out, because I actually have the first two Witcher games, the base games, and then I
Don't
got
we
that
all?
free upgrade.
Okay.
So I have them both listed. Like, I think Steam has them on two separate listings. The base game and the enhanced editions.
Yeah.
And I just remember getting when I got the when they upgraded the second game, I'm like, oh yeah, they just upgraded it. Cool. I really need to go back and play the first one again because I remember having a hard time playing it, and it was just like quote unquote realistic sword play for like combat for the time, and I'm like, this is too hard to learn. I'm not going to play this anymore. And then the second game came out. I'm like, people really seem to like it. I really want to play the first game so I know the story so that I can play the second game. And I never did.
This is too
So it's just,
hard.
I never even looked at the intro screen to The Witcher 2. And I fully bought Witcher 3 for $10, 1,000% knowing I'm not going to touch it. Just like, here it is. It's in my collection. I have it. And yeah, so it's just a sickness, but I mean, for $10, I've wasted more on lotto tickets this year.
I mean, that's what it means to be a gamer, is buying games that you never play and know that you're never going to play when you buy them. But, that's just life.
Well, how about yourself, man? How have things been going?
Doing good. I've been excited all afternoon because a good buddy of mine got me a gift.
You're gonna do some hot live takes here, right? So
And here
yeah,
it is. I'm gonna have to blur that out. Shit. All right, opening it live. We're gonna.
All right.
That's funny.
This is the gift I got you. So
all right, let's see.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
I haven't gotten you a gift yet. Why is it soft?
Never do.
I got you a gift last year. It was $25. I think. Maybe it was 30. A gift for you. Merry Christmas, you weeb. From Joseph. I'm not going to say your last name. I don't want to dox you. I'm going to have to remember to blur that out. I don't know how I can remember to do that.
Oh, man.
Damn you, HD cameras. Okay. Having to cut it. Having to cut in. Come on. So I imagine that I'm just thinking it's probably something anime related because you said weeb. So I almost cut the gift. Thanks. No, you son of a... I'm not showing this. I'm not showing this.
Oh, why not, man? It's just you, accepting your new way of life. You've been having your eye on it. I saw it on your wish list.
It's a mouse pad. And I'm gonna let the viewer do the imagining of what's on the other side.
So So we have an up and coming
Yes.
project we're working on, and this is kind of connected with that.
How much money did you
Uh,
spend on this, you motherfucker?
and this is connected with that heavily. Uh, just Nick has a very soft spot
Or
in
hard
his heart
spot?
for this content. He has figures. I'm pretty sure he has a poster. He has the vinyl albums coming to his house, and he now has a soft spot for his wrist. Um, yeah, this is a cushioned mouse pad, uh, a nice plump, uh, you know, cushioned mouse pad for his supple wrists. Yes. And
Damn
it's
you.
something that during the holidays, I think it's important to remember. It's not necessarily having to buy what you need, but it's buying a friend what they want, but normally wouldn't buy themselves, for one reason or another.
Damn
And
you,
I
Joe.
know he wants this. Once again, you can see his wish list on Amazon. It's just right there.
It's not right there. Damn you, Joe. I'm gonna get you for this. I don't know how. I don't know
Uh,
when, but I'm gonna get you for this.
yeah, it's totally worth it, man. I'm this.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm glad you. Yeah, but now you just all right. So we
I
enough
should have fucking known.
suspense.
I thought it was a real. I thought it was gonna be a real gift. Like, I
It
mean, it was
cost
a
me
real
real
gift,
money, ho.
but I thought it was gonna be like something that I don't even know.
It is something you will undoubtedly use, whether or not you want to admit it or not, but you will use it. You
Okay,
may hide it when your father comes by or something like that. But it's not mine. I swear. Well, my friend bought it for me. I didn't get it for
I
myself.
might, I might, I might re-gift it to my dad. Not really. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. But I would do it to him. I wouldn't do that to you. My face hurts. Um, yeah. Okay. So, uh, man, where do you go from there? Where do you go from that?
Uh, so riding this train wreck all the way. All right.
Um,
So
so that happened, and if you're somebody who's in the know about weeb culture, otaku culture, I think that you can guess sort of the what happened here tonight, um, and let it be a lesson to you. Let it be a lesson to all of us. So, the video game awards happened. Um, you and I
hard
sort of
pivot.
you and I sort of watched it, semi together a little bit, at the same time. Uh, a lot of awards were given out. I was actually pretty impressed with the quality of the show. I've heard it's been getting better over the past 5 or so years, but it definitely feels like a real award show with some fun stuff and lots of announcements. Kind of a long commercial, gonna be honest, but it does have some cool, fun things. It's a little stupid at times, but overall, I think it went pretty well.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I do have to voice the sentiment that was spoken by Richard Ledbetter from Digital Foundry, where he's like, "Well, we try to hold this to like the same level." I'm like paraphrasing, but it's like the same level as the Oscars. But what happened? Imagine watching the Oscars and then just seeing nothing but movie trailers between each award.
Yeah, that's kind of the culture, though. Like, it's one of those things where like nobody really cares about a movie trailer because a lot of times movie trailers and video game trailers to some degree, but a lot of times movie trailers, like I forget who said you can make 2 minutes of anything look good. Video game trailers, if you actually show gameplay, very much at all, it's pretty hard to make a bad game look good. And then a lot of stuff is these games people kind of know are already coming out, so they have an idea that hey, this game's going to be good, and they kind of see somebody like, oh yeah, like then they can get hyped for it.
Yeah, the other thing though is, I mean, the idea is you're there halfway to sell a product, it's kind of it's trying to merge an award show with the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and I think that's the weird part. I mean, because he's mostly branding himself in a lot of ways. It's but it's the one spot where at least a lot of this and was it Dice the Dice Awards where but those are developers and creators like amongst themselves nominating themselves, not so much outside influences. Um,
Yeah.
but in this case, it's just like, all right, well, I really wish they gave a lot more time and courtesy to a lot more of the other topics because they'll talk about a few different awards, give them the speech, and then they'll turn around and be like, "And here's let's like shotgun rattle off this list of awards real quick." And then, all right, now let's get to something we consider interesting. But they also do have some maybe superfluous categories that maybe shouldn't have been, like best adaptation. Like, okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting one to put up there.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. It's that one is like video games are kind of craving to be recognized in the other art forms, and that's where that comes from. It's like, hey, can you take a video game and like make it into an actual good TV show or an actual good movie? And it sort of still remains to be seen. I think there hasn't really been anything adapted from games that would be really critically acclaimed. I do think Arcane was really good though, and that's probably the closest thing that comes to mind, like offhand. But yeah, that's kind of
Um,
just
I
getting.
actually forgot that it won, to be honest.
It did, yeah,
I I actually was not rooting for it at all. I mean, it was quality. Was Don't get me wrong. It was I watched it. I watched it all. It was solid, but I didn't. I forgot what else was there, but I was just like, I just thought something else. I forget what it was. Something else won it. Should have deserved it better. And I feel like you kind of gave it to Arcane because it has all the Tencent money. Um,
yeah. And
so
well, I mean, Arcane really well was really well made. I mean, like just the animation quality alone was pretty pretty out there. I haven't seen anything
did you
else.
did you finish it?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I thought it was good. I thought it was too slow at the beginning, and I didn't give a crap about any of the characters, even though I knew who they were. I didn't give a crap about any of the characters until about the middle of the show, and then I was like, oh, okay. And then it finally got going for me, and I liked it. But yeah, but that and like the I could kind of change the subject here, but like, did you ever find out any more about the kid that came on stage? Because I
Oh
did.
no, I tried looking at it. So yeah, at the very very end when they did um best game, uh yeah, I have at the very end this kids rattle off some weird garbage, I guess.
Gobbledygook.
Uh
Yeah. He said
yeah,
something about Bill Clinton is his rabbi. I was like, I'd like to
yeah.
nominate Bill Clinton my rabbi. It's like just some kind of it's just basically a shit post in words in actual speech. But yeah, apparently this kid had done similar stuff at other events. He's like 14 or 15, and he was arrested. But I mean, someone said, "Oh, he got arrested," and then somebody else was like, "Yeah, but he's like 15. They're not gonna. They can't do anything to him. I mean, like it's it's just whatever." So just
I'm
kind of
trying
a
to figure out
weird
because
thing.
like I don't understand what he was doing on stage to begin with. Like it was weird because he was just standing with the rest of them.
Well,
He
I actually watched a video of where they kind of broke it down. He so the you know Miyazaki and his entourage, kind of like two or three other people, they got called up. Oh, you won, and then they got up and they started walking, and they come from where they're coming from on their side of this of the seating. They kind of came up the side of the stage, but then down the middle of like the middle aisle toward the stage, that's where the kid just came walking up, and all the eyes were on those guys winning the award, and he just kind of looped in behind them, and nobody stopped him, nobody could stop him, I guess he was unstoppable. Um, but like the thing, the major thing the major question it raises is like security, man. Like you need to have some people there now, like standing in the aisle, going like, okay, you, and you are
Or
clear. Just
or at least you think it's an
something.
invitation only, right? Because, like,
Yeah.
no one's checking the front door or no one's checking, like, his I mean, like, it's only gonna be a matter of time before someone plays the crazy card, like, just for no for to try to be famous and be like, "I'm crazy, and I'm gonna, like, off a bunch of famous people, and, I'll be forever immortalized in nerd culture." You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, I don't know, like I don't know what the security was like getting into the building, but I mean, I guess the kid probably didn't have any weapons on him or anything, but
But it's not a public event, you know? And it's just like,
Yeah,
you
like
know,
if
unless
he
it's,
had a weapon and he was crazy, then wow, like what could have happened? Like nothing did happen, and maybe it is for the best that something sort of close or at least um, a security risk was exposed, and so now maybe in the future they're going to hopefully shore that up. But
yeah,
yeah, it was
I
wild.
mean, no, it's yeah, that's, but yeah, the first award they gave out, honestly, was, they had, so it was for the best performance, and that Al Pacino, like, is the one giving away the award of all famous video game people, I guess. I mean, they found a really big name, and it was he at least was enthusiastic despite it being really awkward. He admitted to not being able to read the teleprompter well, and he's like, "I don't play a lot of games, but my kids do," and it's just
Hoo-ah!
like, "Well, okay," like, kind of it's just like, like, good on you for at least kind of putting energy behind it, but man, it was awkward. It was like,
I'm just
it was cringy.
I'm just confused. It's like, okay, first of all, it seems like they probably had to pay Al Pacino a lot of money to be there because he doesn't play games. But it's also like, Al Pacino, why are you like, are you trying to sell a movie? Like, I don't what's in it for you besides just like a paycheck?
I hardly recognize him. He got like I haven't seen him in such a long time in any of it recent films in the last, I don't know, since the late 2000s.
Yeah.
So it's just like I haven't seen him in a while. Like, man, he's gotten old, obviously, but it's just like,
Do you think?
uh
Well, first of all, do they do best performance first every year?
honestly, I only ever this is the first year I actually paid real attention to it.
Yeah, me too.
I mean,
So
you could try to win a Stream Deck. That was
yeah,
that was
that's why I was
uh
there. Yeah.
and then, well, that I usually, when it comes to these things, I just usually end up catching the summary reel, right? You quick look at the best, who won the awards, and then you look at the best trailers for the evening, and that's it.
That's pretty much the
Yeah,
rundown. But what I was getting at is I wonder if they moved best performance, which they were gonna have Al Pacino do, give away the award. So they moved that to the front so that they could have Al Pacino like come in, step out of his limo. Okay, where do I go? And then, yeah, this guy he won best performance. Really good job for the video game performance. And then like, here you go. And then he like just
goes to
walks
bed.
like he just like walks out the back and just goes the just like leaves immediately, because that's probably the best easiest way for him to get in and out as fast as possible, because I'm sure he
Oh
was
yeah,
like, I don't give a shit about being here. I need to be in and out and gone.
oh yeah, for sure, man. I mean, he was a good sport about it, and I really give him credit for that. He's a professional when it came to that. He tried bringing positive energy, and he then patiently stood there the entire time Christopher Judge gave his acceptance speech,
So what
which
happened with that?
was
I heard that was weird.
it was super long. It was very heartfelt, and they had to play him off.
Okay.
You know, so that was one of those type of speeches, but it was very sweet, in a lot of ways. It's like, okay, it's coming from the heart in a lot of ways, and it was, but he had to thank everyone under the sun, and he thanked his family and everything, and like they said, it was a very well done speech. It's just, uh, it wasn't, pre-planned, right? It wasn't, so he if he maybe had some cliff notes. It might have helped out a little bit, but so between from the awkward and long intro before getting the award, and then actually getting the award, and then going on forever, that was yeah, that was kind of funny because then afterwards, Keeley makes the offhanded jokes like, "I think he was just trying to get people to win more Steam decks," because if you have for those who don't
Yeah.
weren't watching live or weren't watching on the same stream, if you watched it uh, from actual Steam, they were showing it, broadcasting it there, and you were logged in, and you had made a purchase within the last year, you would you were qualified to every minute someone was winning a Steam Deck. Spoilers: we did not win.
Yeah.
Uh,
Neither of us won.
yep, yep. So that was but and then afterwards, the little bumper intro, Keeley kind of sped up his talking just a little bit to like help compensate to stay on schedule, which you of course you'd have to. But yeah, it was once again, it was just a little awkward because how long the speech was, but it was genuine, and I think that's that is saying something. He wasn't just accepting it, he wasn't like or thinking of himself as hot shit. So that was cool. We both lost that one. We did not get a point when we were in our guesses. Honestly, I was kind of surprised, but yeah, I'm glad he won. I like him as like I said, I like him in Stargate SG1. I
Mhm.
always thought he was really good in there. So I'm glad to see he got some notoriety in the gaming industry as well.
Yeah. So just looking through these winners, pretty much all of the top categories were won by either Elden Ring, which won Game of the Year, or God of War Ragnarok, um, which just won like narrative, um, score. Just there's this the top awards were definitely given to those two games, and I kind of think that they might have. I mean, if the first God of War had come out in 2018 and won everything, then I think that they probably would have given it Game of the Year or maybe just Best Game Direction. I'm not quite sure, but they really every chance they could, they pretty much gave whatever award was up to either Elden Ring or God of War Ragnarok. But yeah, so I was a bit disappointed in that because I I didn't think that they deserved to win, you know, dang near everything. Uh, there's some things in here um, like best art direction. I don't know if Elden Ring needed to win that. Uh,
Well, once again, we predicted that some of these were given, like they were. It was going to be these two powerhouse. I'm surprised Elden Ring didn't take away more. I was actually surprised at how much God of War took away from them,
yeah, that's
which I'm
true.
glad. I was actually kind of happy about.
That's yeah.
Um, you know, you had a couple of them that kind of surprised me a little bit. Uh, so I wasn't sure if there's specific categories you wanted to talk about. So I didn't want to take away from your bit, but stupid Stray, uh, won two awards that uh,
Tu-
I think
Tunic should have
one of
won.
them for sure should not have won.
Which one's that?
Probably, I honestly think what was it, the best debut
Okay.
indie game.
And then what do you
Uh,
think should have won?
yeah, Tunic. I was rooting for Tunic, but I thought maybe Neon White should have had a good chance with just how unique it was. But man, I was pissed that Tunic did not win that. Um, and then they also got best independent game, which is like that's kind of similar in a lot of ways. But it won both. Stray won both of those. I'm like, no, Tunic, man, just
I
God, I
mean,
was not happy.
like I haven't played a ton of Tunic, but from what I have played of Tunic, I think Tunic is a better game than Stray. Like
I
I like Stray. It was fun. Had a cute cat in it that you got to solve puzzles with in a pretty cool world. But as far as like a game goes, I thought Tunic was a better put together game. Uh,
associate it with this. It's like Tunic being like a student project, while you have Stray being more of the art house project, right? And so because
Yeah,
it's like an art film, if you were going to consider it that way, those tend to win more than the student films, and that's kind of the vibe I get. It's maybe if it had a little more pizzazz or polish, but very much I think that's where visual qualities. Stray is a very great looking game.
it is.
Um, I gave up playing Stray though. It lost my interest after a while. Um, it's but Tunic hit me in a way that I was not expecting, and I thoroughly like. I went far beyond what I think I went far beyond what normal people would do in that game, but at the same time, I was just like, so it hooked me. So that's my personal take out of it. Granted, yeah, you can say "Hey, it's very similar. It's based off the foundations of other games,
Yeah,
uh, but a lot of you can almost argue about that with everything at this point. There's very few things that come
yeah.
up with an original concept now, like
Stray
a
is
wholly
yeah,
original. Because no matter what we will boil anything down to, it's like one of three types of games. You know,
pretty much.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
um, and I'm gonna like best music or best score. I don't think that God of War Ragnarok. I don't think that the music there is anything particularly special. It is the same as the previous game with maybe a few more strings and horns or whatever. It's a swelling orchestral arrangement. Um and it's something that I don't even notice when I'm playing the game. Like, yeah, it's pretty, it's good, but I think that uh the stuff from Xeno Blade 3 is it was better. I thought it was a bit more memorable and more fun to listen to. Um, so that was another one where I was like, God of War doesn't need to win that. Bear McCreary doesn't need to win that. But I don't know.
yeah.
It's just
Well, I
me.
mean, Elden Ring got best RPG, and I thought that wasn't. I didn't think that was right either. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it just doesn't feel like it. Yeah, it's got a lot of numbers in it, but you swing in your sword way too much. Like it's not a true enough RPG to me to be considered that. I would consider it more like action adventure or whatever, which it wasn't even in that category. But I would consider it more along those lines than a like an RPG.
yeah, for sure. I it's just there was a lot of um, it was our predictions were like we had very few correct predictions in the end. Um,
Yeah, probably.
maybe by next episode I'll actually take the time to tally it up. I was just like, oh man, I just knew I was wrong. And every time I watch the new one, I'm like, dang it, I'm wrong about this one too. So I had very few right to begin with.
Well, we kind of
Um,
spread it out. I didn't think that Elden Ring would win every single freaking category it was in. I figured it would win a couple, but dadgum, like, and I mean, and part of it was like what I think should win out of that list rather than what I necessarily think that they were going to do. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I was happy with, like there's a couple of them that were okay, but like Splatoon winning best multiplayer game. I'm like, really? Like uh, I think that'd be better for a best family game, over the
mm,
Kirby that, because I mean, yeah, Kirby is a better family game, but I honestly think more people and more kids, and that's the right, you know, grouping you do for that. But I honestly don't I know very few people personally that play
well,
Splatoon.
I mean, best multiplayer game. So you got Modern Warfare 2, Multiversus, Overwatch, Splatoon 3, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Um, fuck Call of Duty because Game Awards hates Call of Duty. I think I saw an article saying that like they've never like won anything. None of the Call of Duties have like won anything at the Game Awards like ever. Multiversus. I think they just were like Splatoon 3 is a fun, cute game, and we got to give something to Nintendo, uh, or else we'll be in trouble. So we're just give a multiplayer game to Splat 3.
Yeah, and of course Zelda won best anticipated game, which I thought it was to have that whole category is just stupid.
That is kind of a dumb category. It's
It's like
like
what we couldn't fit another commercial for these ones in, so we're gonna go ahead and just quick give a shout out to these ones.
it's
It's an
like
honor to be nominated.
biggest hype game. Like
Uh,
that's what that is. It's like what's the most hype? Well, anyway, that's I mean, that's pretty much all that I
oh,
really.
the player's voice, he made a offhanded comment, but, like, once we removed all the bot votes, uh,
Yeah.
and then, like, the winner was Genshin Impact
Still Genshin
because
Impact.
it was, Genshin Impact and what was Sonic Frontiers, that's what it was, 'cause, it was those 2 were crushing Elden Ring in the players' votes,
Yeah,
so
the player's choice. Yeah, I mean, like Genshin Impact was way up, and then yeah, a little bit of strong boat was going towards Sonic Frontiers, and whenever I saw that, I was like, of course, the player's
well,
vote would just be
I think that's the
worthless.
joke is there was bots for Sonic, but the as far as the best adaptation, that's right, because I was rooting for Cyberpunk personally, but I also thought Cuphead would have been a strong contender just because of the quality of the art style on that. I didn't actually watch the show though, so I can't really say the quality of the material there,
Yeah, I never
and
saw it.
I actually am surprised there wasn't more, vote like, upvote for Sonic. I didn't see the sequel, but I did not hear anything bad about it either. So,
I mean,
but yeah,
I mean, just kind of a quick aside, like I've seen a couple reviews and a couple videos on the new Sonic game, and people say that it's not bad, that it's actually pretty good. Everything I'm hearing sounds like it's about a 7. Um, like an actual 7, not like a 7 for a Sonic game, but like an actual true 7 out of 10. Uh, so I was surprised about that, but yeah.
yeah, I heard the only real like one of the only real problems is there's the draw distance is really bad.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, as you're running, you can clearly see things pop into existence. Um, and that's the limitations of the hardware in a lot of ways. And so I mean, but as far as that goes, I mean, yeah, it's the Game Awards. It was nothing too terribly special, but then again, there's nothing, uh, when it's a clean sweep between 2 major games like that just take over everything, it's like, okay,
Yeah,
you
like
know
I really wish that Elden Ring had been able to make it into 2021 because I think it would have been better just to get it in that year when there really wasn't very much else going on. I mean, Metroid, was my game of the year last year. But if Elden Ring had come out, I would have said, "Fuck Metroid." Like, Elden Ring is way better than as good as Metroid, as fun as Metroid was. It just isn't as big or as grand, epic, whatever you want to say, masterfully done as Elden Ring. So just like let Elden Ring just have its own year in 2021, and then we can fight about it a little bit and have a bit closer of a race. Maybe get some more games that have get some more of a spotlight on some lesser known games. But that's not the way it happened. So I don't know what the hell's coming out next year, but there's I don't think it's going to be as contentious as this year.
yeah, well, I was happy that, Moss, Book 2 won Best VR game. I haven't got a chance to play it yet, but I know Moss, the original Moss was a lot of fun. So,
Yeah, I'm
alright, well,
excited
I
that for
guess
VR too.
gotta get to the good part about this, and that
Fuck
was,
all this
the
shit. Let's
trailers.
go to the good shit that we're all actually here for, the trailers. All right,
Alright,
you
so
got some trailers that you thought were good. There's only like one or two that I really liked, but I think you have them pulled up. So what do you want to dive into first?
yeah, well, as someone who doesn't own a current, generation console, um, the fact that Returnal is coming to PC, I'm pretty hyped about that. Now, granted, there's been some speculation between frame rates and stuff being shown because there was some choppiness on the video, but it's one of those things that they're showing it during an event, and then then you have to end up streaming it from through whatever you're watching it player you're watching it on. So I believe that it'll be a good enough port when it comes out, and I've been like it's one of the few games I want a PS5 for, and now that it's coming to this, I'm like, well, it's one less reason I need a PS5. Uh, I mean, granted,
Yeah.
if you want the games right away, then of course you still want the PlayStation 5, and if you don't want to wait like 6 months to a year or whatever until the exclusivity is over. But yeah, that was exciting for me. Granted, it had been slightly leaked beforehand, but it's just nice to see it that it exists. One of the big ones that came out, which I I was kind of happy, I guess, like as the trailer started playing, was Hades 2. So, Supergiant, Hades, the guys who make Bastion, obviously Hades 1,
He's the one.
uh, Transistor, they they do wonderful games. And this was the first like it was really surprising because like dude, they're like this looks like Hades 2. They've never done a sequel before, and sure enough, yeah, when they announced it, it was they've actually done completely different, like, genres every time they've made a new game. That's what made them really unique. They've always had an excellent way of telling a story, killer music, and just phenomenal gameplay. They've they've honestly done so many good things. So I'm excited to see how this is gonna come out because I have full faith in them. They're one of the few companies I have left. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm just gonna, whatever you got coming out, there's, it may not hit with me 100%, but like you're at least gonna be like a solid 7 without a doubt. Um,
Yeah.
Transistor's probably the one that people played the least, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah.
the one after that, a lot of people, I'm drawing a blank on it now. It's
Pyre.
the one where it's Spire, yeah,
It's with a
it's
P.
the weird 3-on-3 basketball game, kind
Yeah.
of,
It's
is the most boilerplate I can bring it down to.
I played a little bit of it, and it didn't make me want to keep playing, but it was good. It was like there's a lot of reading. There was like the games that you like. The gameplay was the basketball games, and that was kind of cool. But then everything else was like just reading in order to kind of to kind of build a story around it. And
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like a fun visual novel essentially and the gameplay was like that wasn't necessarily for everyone. Some people really got into it. I remember I did not beat that game, so that I guess it kind of tells you where that is. But I remember that and Transistor. I think Transistor is probably the most overlooked game. It was the most purchased, probably, or one of the most purchased, but very few
I think
played
everybody bought
because
it and started up one time, and they're like, ah, maybe not right now. And
well,
then
it's because
yeah,
it was the second game they did, or the first game they did after Bastion. Everyone loves Bastion, and then afterwards they're like, "All right, this other game, Transistor. This is a neat concept, beautiful art." And wait, what's this? They're like, it's a grid, a little more tactics based. They're like, "This is different." And then if you'd either, once you played it, you're like, "Okay, I can get it," or a lot of people are like, I'm not going to commit myself right now to learning how to play this game, and so it stays on their shelf or on their it's like being less than like maybe 2 hours played.
yeah,
Um,
and yeah,
so
and I kind of
I
feel
mean,
like Hades was kind of the closest return to the Bastion idea, um, and so maybe that's why it was, but it was still different. It was still like very different and on its own, but it had so much of like the fast action and weapons and stuff,
yeah,
and
and then they did so many things right with having it run based and having different builds and stuff like that, and
yeah.
yeah, that so once again, it's very good news to hear they're coming out with a new game, and it's interesting that they're going with a sequel. So
I think they
I
had
think they
to. I think they had to because I think they want to get paid, and that slapping a two onto Hades is it's guaranteed that they're going. I mean, they already have like a lot of the art, a lot of the assets ready to go. I mean, this game is coming out pretty soon after the first Hades. It's only been like what 2 years by the time it actually comes out. So
It's been longer than that, I
okay,
think. But yeah,
time flies, man.
it'll be at least 3, I think, if not 4. Um,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, it's anyways, maybe 3. But the thing is, I I think it's also a risky move on their part because it kind of, you'd think that maybe they'd come back to a 2, not this next game, but like the game after. Give it some breathing room between the 2. Because then a lot of people were like, "Well, I just like I remember playing it not too much and too long ago, and it's more you run the risk of it being more the same." Now, it may not be bad if you have a long enough gap in between, but following, especially if people are like, "Oh yeah, I never did finish the first one. Let me go ahead and burn out, knock out that first one. Then the second game comes, and you're like, if it is more of the same, then you're like, oh well, I just beat the first game, and now I'm getting burnt out with the second.
Yeah,
So
there's I
it is a
mean
risky move.
there's always risk, but I think that the bigger risk would be trying to make another game in between Hades 1 and 2, and then coming along and trying to make Hades 2 when people have kind of forgotten about it, maybe. Um, I
I
could,
see. I think it'd be fine because anyone who the only people the people who are interested in Hades
I
one
think it
will
would be,
automatically play Hades two.
I think it'd be fine, but I think that they'll make a more, that they would, if we could know the answer to all possibilities, I think they would make more money the way that they are doing it because I mean people freaking love Hades, and I think that
Hmm.
they've sensed that people haven't really gotten enough of it, and so they're like, well, we can freaking roll this out, and it's not that expensive to just do what we've already been doing, so we're ready to go. But anyway, I'm excited for
Yeah,
it too.
I mean, it's better to well, if out of all their games, this is the one you make the sequel to, and I will agree with that because it has been far too long since Bastion one, and you'd have to tighten up some of the gameplay. I think the
Yeah,
gameplay still holds up, but at the same time, part of the thing that made Hades such a great game is the writing, and you have so much of it. You have so many different characters, and people absolutely just love, you ship your own person, right?
yeah.
You're like, all right, this is my go-to, this is the one I'm rooting for the entire time. And uh but yeah, no, anyways, Hades 2 coming out, get excited. The another one that people were excited to see, or at least I think it was the Star Wars Jedi Survivors.
Right.
This is one's a sequel to was it Fallen Order, and uh, that one was a, to slap a couple words to it, action adventure, slight RPG, Souls like Star Wars game. There you go, three. Uh, and actually, I had a really good time with it. I platinumed that one back in the day, like when it first came out, and it does have a few Souls-like elements. The only part that was really difficult about the game, in my opinion, was there wasn't really much of a fast travel or fast movement. So there's a few things for collections' sake that I had to go back, and it's like, okay, the thing I'm missing is on the far end of this map, and it's going to take me at least a good, 5-10 minutes just to even reach it.
Yeah.
So that was the only downer for me personally. But I thought the story was really solid, and I enjoyed my time with it. I'm like, it's coming out with a new one. I'm excited to see what they do next. They made sure to show you that you had all sorts of kind of new lightsabers to play with, and potentially then new fighting styles because you had the Kylo Ren Claymore, you had the dual wielding. So you had your single stance, and you had it's like you're gonna have pretty much all of them under the sun probably. Uh,
Do we have a
so
release
yeah,
date for when this one's going to come out?
I didn't catch it. They could have said it honestly, but I honestly don't remember. It was yeah, and so yeah, that's but I believe that studio is going to be doing a good job on this one too. And yeah, if you like, it was I haven't had fun with the Star Wars game in a long time. I kind of I like the Star Wars games more than I do uh, the film franchises at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's I'll leave it at that. Um, it was interesting to see that they showed Death Stranding 2.
I mean,
So
like Norman Reedus has already talked about it like twice, so
oh yeah,
we knew it was coming.
yeah. It's just I mean I fell off of the first one. Um, I couldn't drink that Kool-Aid. So many people hold Kojima on such a pedestal like that, like
I think I think I never played it. I heard that the gameplay, once you got into it, was pretty cool, and that kind of stuff. Which this is video games, so that's what counts. That's the main thing that counts. But every time I have seen and or heard about any of the narrative from that game, it sounds like a pile of dog shit. It sounds fucking horrible. Uh, So every time I've wanted to kind of play it, I've been like, but that narrative just sounds like it just sounds dumb. So I am
Well,
not excited for this game at all. I know a lot of people are, but I'm just not excited for it
it
at all.
looks it looks great as always. But that's the thing is, I like I said, people when it comes to Kojima, they like I said, they have him in such high regard, and it's being this kind of visionary, and oh my goodness, he does all these great predictions and all this other stuff. I'm like, mm, I remember when he made games like Snatcher, where he just stole ideas from other concepts. Like, I'm gonna steal a little bit of a Total Recall, a little bit of Blade Runner, and a little bit of Terminator, and we'll just mash them all up into a cyberpunk, point and click adventure. And I'm gonna throw in a little Metal Gear in there, literally for referencing. And I'm like, you know what? That game was awesome. I miss that Kojima. I really think his early works are better than his later.
I mean, yeah,
So
like
it's
talking about like Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2, and I mean, like people love the 3 and 4 and 5, but you know, I don't know. I never got to play a chance to play those games, but as far as I can tell, those first two Metal Gear Solids were really the kind of the sea change. They were the ones that were like, "Hey, this is what we can do on PlayStation. This is what we can do on PlayStation 2."
yeah,
And by the time the third one came out, I mean, I think people liked it a lot, but it was like, yeah, we kind of knew that this what you're doing, with enough money, was possible. So to me, he has lost a bit of his luster, especially with Death Stranding. Like with the narrative that it's just like I don't really have that much respect for him. I mean, sure he's great and stuff, but I don't laud him the way a lot of other people do.
yeah, it's just like I said, it's one of the things that like I joke because um I say petty stool because he's like, it's a manicured experience. Um and that's people like people love him and they have him in such high regard. And I'm like, anything he does, like they will drink that Kool-Aid too,
Yeah,
twice in an episode. I
yeah.
mean, it's just like they will follow him to the ends of the earth, and
I
yeah,
don't think he
then next thing you
deserves
know, they,
that.
they all become activated.
Yeah,
That's his secret goal is he's
yeah.
secretly making this his new group.
There's a lot of
Uh,
Kojima NPCs out there, and that's just the way the world is. That's the Dan Reicherts of the world, as it were.
yeah, but and even he didn't like the end of Death Stranding, so yeah, that's the thing though. It's an amazing technical marvel, and that's it. I'll leave it at that. But still, it's interesting that they didn't show something a new direction. They went with also a sequel on that one. Um, yeah, and then there's all right. So I'm gonna move to another one that I was surprised to see, and I kind of guessed it right shortly beforehand, but I guessed it because of a little bit of the art style, but more importantly, the weapon sounds, and that was Remnant 2. So
Okay.
Remnant, the first one was Remnant from the Ashes. Uh, that's a Yeah, it's more or less a multiplayer shooting Dark Souls-esque game, and it's a lot of fun. It really is. A buddy of mine introduced me to it. We played a lot for the PlayStation, and then we ended up I think Epic gave it for free, and so we started playing it again on the PC. And the sound design with the weapons and the feel of the weapons, just it's really good. It's a
Okay.
it has well, it's one of those games that like a Dark Souls, they have a story there, but it's all behind text, a lot of text, and I'm like, "Yeah, all right, just give me to the next boss to shoot." But they have some really cool puzzles in there too. We just discovered by accident discovering these different puzzles, or you have different routes, so you'd be replaying like different layouts and stuff like that. And it's just it was a salt. The first game was really fun. Never could only get to a certain point, kind of hit a wall, and then we just kind of fell off of it after a while. But they're making a sequel. I'm happy about that. It's just like, more of that game would be good, and if it's a little more polished, because the first one was super rough around the edges, but it was still, like I said, it was just a lot of fun to play, and I hadn't had fun like that. It's like I'm okay with a Souls-esque like multiplayer shooter.
Yeah.
I like multiplayer games. I'd be more cool if there was, you know, a 3 player or something like that, Souls type game too, because without having, unlike Elden Ring where you have to like summon people in for certain areas and stuff like, no, if I can just roll with you from start to finish, I think that'd be pretty fun. Uh, so yeah, that's
Yeah.
just a quick one
I
there.
never got a chance to
Then
play
we
the
have
first Revenant, but I'll try this one out if you end up recommending it.
Yeah, chances are, my buddy will end up playing it, like getting it really, really quickly out of the gate, and so I'll get the recommendation from him,
Oh, okay.
'cause
Pass
whether or not
along
it's
then.
a worth one to jump. I mean, dude, I very my time commitment for stuff, I'm like, it has to be vetted beforehand. Very, very few things do I jump wholeheartedly in. I think
Just time is too important.
you know, I think Saints Row was the last game in a long while that I just blindly jumped into,
Yeah,
and you know what, you know,
obligatory.
it wasn't the most polished experience, but I still, it's a good little stress relief. But a game that a new IP that I am interested in is Crime Boss.
God,
You know, it's like,
this is right up your alley, man.
yeah, Crime Boss for OK City. This one, they're like, let's just take all the famous people we can think about and just random famous people, just start throwing them at the wall, and make a like Miami Vice esque 80s action like scene. And, like it really seems like the right kind of stupid.
Yeah,
They have, I mean, what else can you say? It looks very stupid but very funny, and hopefully, and it seems like self-aware enough. Not, I don't think they're gonna necessarily go too hard. Maybe they went too hard with getting Vanilla Ice as a
yeah.
character.
Well, I mean, you got what
I
you got
mean,
to do. It does seem like they are very self-aware of everything that they are doing. All of these actors are playing, their most caricature versions of themselves. But it does have a sweetness to it, a charm. I just worry that they may have spent too much money on the actors and the acting and the story, and then forgot about the gameplay. I hope that the gameplay is still, if it's just like Saints Row levels of passable, or even a little worse than that, then I think that it'll still be pretty good because of everything they have around it to carry it.
yeah, and the thing is, this isn't even coming out as a full price game. So that's the unique part, is it's like it's coming out as $40 game,
Yeah.
and that's like absurd.
I mean, right
Uh,
now it's even on like a pre-order sale. So
yeah, so it's, I think it's currently on sale for like 20% off. So it's like $32.
yeah,
Um, uh, yeah, so it's, you know, it must not be, you know, obviously it's not going to be like as long of a, or fully flush game as something else, but man, to come out as a $40 game, bunch of a bunch of famous people just doing wacky hijinks. Uh, yeah, why not? I'm okay with that. I mean, they have Danny Trejo, they have, you know, and then, you know, Danny Glover playing his usual cop self.
yeah, man.
Uh,
I haven't seen Danny Glover in a minute. Like I don't even know what the last thing he was actually in. That was a movie or a
uh,
TV show, and now he's in this freaking
Saw.
game. So
I remember him in Saw forever ago. He was in some stuff after that, I know, but that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And
I
then,
don't
of
know,
course,
man.
you know, the last thing at the end is they have Chuck Norris.
Yep,
So yeah.
roundhouse kicking his way through the gaming world now.
But
Yeah,
yeah, that was pretty funny. That was actually a spinning sidekick he does at the end.
yeah.
But yeah,
Spitting.
no.
It's a fucking
So that
roundhouse
game,
kick, isn't it? That's a roundhouse kick.
no, dude, he spins and he hits when you come at you with the side of your foot slash the heel. A roundhouse kick comes, you do the top of your foot. He spins backwards. I'm almost positive.
I didn't know there was a differentiation. I'll just have to take your word for it. Okay, what's next?
All right, so the last one that of note that I saw was it was exciting because um, it was really weird. You're seeing, like, a bunch of machines and, you know, metal, and all of a sudden you're like, "Okay, interesting." Then it flashes, you know, like, it flashes from soft, and then it clicks for, like, you know, you can tell, like, some of the audience members who got super excited because like, "Oh, wait, it's Armored Core."
Yeah.
Uh, and that's just like they haven't made an Armored Core in a hot minute.
I
Um,
I didn't know what I was seeing until I saw the words come up. I was like, I mean, I remember Armored Core being around whenever I was a kid. I never really played it, but I did think it was very cool. I just thought it was too complicated of a game for me or something like that. I thought the idea was very cool. I didn't know about video game companies really, developers. I didn't pay attention to that. So I didn't think about it ever. I didn't remember that FromSoft had made those games. And so whenever I saw that, I was like, okay, so I guess they bought the IP. And then I was like, oh no, they actually made the old games. I was like, oh, okay. I am totally. This is the thing I'm the most excited for because I just have no idea what this is actually going to be. Like, is it going to be like one of the old Armored Core games, where you're on a robot, like just flying down highways and shooting people, or is it going to have any kind of Soulsian, like, ideas to it, gameplay at all? Like, I just have no idea what it's actually going to, or maybe something totally different. So I just have no idea what it's going to be. And that's what, but it looks cool. And it's FromSoft, who we know makes, I mean, who just freaking won Game of the Year on the biggest, gaming award show that there is. So you got to be a little hype for it, I think.
yeah, it's so I just the barrier to entry of those games. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's very
Yeah.
from soft. It was just like if you like mechs and like really like mechs and you like to,
Really.
you know, it's like uh it's not necessarily Arma level of like menu systems, but it was very much like you wanted to simulate what it was like to be in a mech. It was very much more tactical based. It was like
Yeah.
it was difficult. You had to learn its rules. And so for the average person who just like I like robots, but this is slow and you know, um this is like Mech Warrior in a sense. And I'm like, I want more, you know, action pizzazz and like it wasn't for everyone. And I just like it looked I always liked the way it looked. It was always a game that I'm like, no, I'm not unfortunately I'm not taking the time to learn. And so I never really got into them that sense, but I was like, it was just really neat to see them coming back to it because I'm like, the series has its fans, but it would never was like a huge it never moved the needle in the way that I thought it does. Like, it's like it deserves.
Yeah.
It got so many sequels.
I,
Um, I mean, it's not just the fact that this is like the sixth coming out. Between there was a lot of sub categories, and then you had them for like they made them for the PSP and other things too. And it's just it wasn't just like, oh yeah, no, there's 5 games before.
yeah.
It's more like 10. I mean,
Yeah,
so
I mean, there's a ton, and I think it's one of those game series that had a lot of critical acclaim and a lot of people who were very into that scene. Were like, this is a really good game. This is a really good series, and so there was always a dedicated fan base that kind of kept making them. I kind of wonder if this is going to be a little bit more along the lines of the Bloodborne like aspect of From Software, where there's a lot of fast, high, intense action and maybe a little bit less on the RPG side. Because that's the only way I really see this being fun. Because it's very easy to make a mech game very, very boring. A lot of them are just like too crunchy and too
well.
slow. And if they can
You
make
just
it,
customize your build. Do you want a big fat tank? Do you want something smaller, more nimble? Do,
but
do you
I
want to have
also
heavy
don't really
cannons?
want to play like Gran Turismo when I am in my mech. I mean, a little bit of that. I do want a little bit of that, but there's a very fine balance between like making it fun and making it feel real. And you have to like have it, you have to have a lot of explosions and ass kicking. It has to feel like I am kicking ass in this mech. I don't really know what's going on under the hood, but I am kicking ass in this mech and it is super fun. So I think if anybody can do it,
Y-
they can, but I just don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the problem is when you become really technical, you end up playing like an Ed 209 or something like that. Just a slow moving
Yeah.
behemoth, and it was just like, all right. But with games like this, you generally then have you can swap out mods, like you can swap out an arm, and like this arm will have a sword, or this one like a this one will have a shield, a cannon, this one will have a the Vulcan 50 millimeter machine gun. So you can then spec out depending, do you want legs, do you want bipedal, or do you want treads? Do you want are you going to go with the heavy armor, or are you going to go with something lighter? So there's those kind of tactical aspects that a lot of these kind of games will offer.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. It's once again, so you can get very Souls esque in that sense. Depending how you play. Um, I can easily see them, doing a crossover kind of in that sense. But yeah, I don't know. It looked good, and I haven't seen a mech game in a hot minute. So I was just like, or at least not the one this polished. So I'm excited just because I'm an old fan of mechs, but once again, most of those games did not mesh well with me.
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
because I wanted.
at one point in anime and Japan, mechs were the isekai of back in the day. It was like every freaking other show was a mech show of some kind. And it got a little old, and most of them were bad, but some of the times, it was pretty dang cool. So yeah,
All right, yeah, that's really what we got for that we thought was important for the trailers.
right.
So, anyways, what do we got for the news then? What else we got?
Well, we got some things, but I mean, we've kind of gone pretty long, and none of this stuff is super important. So I'm kind of just going to list through it a bit. Amazon is being partnered with whoever. Gosh, I forget the name of the actual developer, but Amazon is going to be
Is it Crystal
partnering.
Dynamics, or did they?
That's probably it. Amazon's going to be partnering with Crystal Dynamics in making the next Tomb Raider game because SquareSoft doesn't really want to make that game anymore. So Amazon is going to be publishing that. But the article I was reading about it didn't make it sound like that was like the definitive role, just like it's partnership publishing sort of. So it's going to be interesting to see how much of their weight they throw behind that and how good that ends up being. Do you think it'll be better or worse than the previous installments, or just the same?
That's hard to say. You fear that with Amazon's track record of, if they're just financially funding, then I believe in Crystal Dynamics. They can pull off a good game. The problem with Square is if you're not Kingdom Hearts, you're never going to hit their performance numbers. Kingdom Hearts, they'll give infinite money to,
Yeah,
and infinite amount of time. But no matter how good the Tomb Raider games were, they never seem to hit the proper sales projections. Just like Deus Ex never hit it as well, and stuff like that. So Square has, uh, they don't have the proper idea of how much their game should be making in real in real terms. But yeah, if Amazon just is the financial backer, uh, I think they'll make a solid game. I liked the first two. I didn't actually play the third of the new series, Tomb Raider games,
yeah,
and yeah, it's completely solid, enjoyable, still being used for benchmarks today. A
yeah,
lot of people use, especially when you have hair physics and stuff like that. But honestly, it's
yeah. They were solid games. As much as I
they
played of
should
them, which wasn't a
they
lot
should be
though.
allowed
So
they should be allowed to make more stuff. I'd like to see them make something else, but
yeah,
I mean,
I,
if you have that Tomb Raider IP, yeah, you got to roll with it, right? So
yeah. You kind of got to keep making Tomb Raider games. I think you could maybe make them a little cheaper, maybe for a little bit more of a broader or more niche audience. I don't know which way you'd go with that, but either way, you got to keep making them. I think that if Amazon kind of gives Crystal Dynamics um, plenty of rope and just gives them like, hey, here's the money, and if you don't hit certain sales targets, then you're gone. Uh, I think that would be a good way to do it because I think that Crystal Dynamics is probably going to feel pretty jilted at the higher levels of that. And I think they're going to develop angry and they're going to try to break out and do something new. and really make a name for themselves. Say, we don't need no fucking SquareSoft, and try to make something good. I would hope that is what happens, and that's probably the best possible world for us to get a even better Tomb Raider. And I kind of think I think that whatever the next Tomb Raider is, even adjusting for the inflation of technology and time, and things just getting better over time. I think that the next one, uh, if I had to put money on it, I would say that the next one's going to be at least a little bit better than the previous one, two, or three. Um, so that's what I think. But yeah, so there's a couple other things here. Valve wants to make a second Steam controller. I don't really know what all is entailed with this. I would just hope that they would put actual joysticks on it this time. But besides that, I think it's a good idea. I think they just need to make it a little bit more traditional. How about you? What do you think?
I think it's a bad idea, and I think they shouldn't bother wasting their time and effort on it. Honestly, they have a hard time backing their peripherals for a long period of time. Uh, the idea of the concept was to be able to play like RTSs and games that traditionally mouse-driven games easier with their old controller, and some people had a really good success rate with that. Um, but honestly, it's just like when it didn't sell, yeah, they don't need to make controllers. There's other people making perfectly good controllers. I'm more excited slash waiting for Xbox to make the third gen of their Elite controller, and then I might actually pick one up. You know,
Yeah, like
but
it is a bit of a weird, like actually now that I think about it, it is a bit of a weird thing because it's like you have Xbox making controllers, and does that first of all does that I don't have a Steam Deck so I can't test it, but does the Xbox controller Bluetooth remote wirelessly connect to the Steam Deck?
now I don't. So I know the older controllers you needed a dongle, so you needed a USB connection. So I know with PlayStation controllers, you can connect it via Bluetooth. So I'm not 100% sure with the newer Xbox controllers. I'm still playing with a 360 controller, dude. Uh,
But I mean,
so
like,
I'm
but like what I'm talking about is a Steam Deck because
Oh yeah, you can. There's no reason why you can't connect those things to it, especially if you do TV mode. So
so
there's
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so you don't. I mean, but if you're playing in handheld mode, then you obviously why the hell do you need it?
Yeah,
Because you
so my point is, I guess, is that like if they're going toward the Steam Deck route, and they're making headway there, and and Xbox is already making controllers for anybody that actually wants those, and then like the rest of the time you're just playing it like in your hand with the buttons that are already there. Yeah, I mean, it is like what are you doing here? Like are you gonna reinvent the wheel? Are you gonna like blow everyone's socks off with some new controller? I don't. I guess you're right. You convinced me. You're right. I don't really see what like I don't have a reason to buy one of those.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, and hey, if they come out with a good reason, if they do reinvent the wheel, if they, then great, good on them, and we'll all recognize it. But I just, I don't really see that happening, and people hate change. Unless if you're as big and as powerful as Apple, who can force something upon the masses, and yeah, like there's not much else that you're gonna do. Uh, like I said, they tried with the touch controller, and with a few certain cases, people really seem to like, yeah, these few edge cases, this works amazing. Everything else is just meh, it's okay. And that's how I feel that's going to be this next turnaround as well. I mean, at best, you're just gonna be like, yeah, this is just as good as all the other controllers.
yeah,
At worst, you're like, wow, did I waste my money? You wasted your time and effort and R&D, and you can't really recoup those losses, or you might break even. Good job. You know, add
yeah.
another one to our wall of past stuff we tried. Um,
Yeah,
so
I think it probably is going to be like another bad idea because that first controller was like what the like I see what they were trying to do, but it's like you just can't like you need a freaking mouse and keyboard. Like it'd be better if they made a really good mouse and keyboard, but like that I could see people actually buying. It's like if they made a really freaking good, you know, mouse and keyboard that lit up and felt really good to use and all that stuff and did exactly what you needed for games, then it'd be like, okay, maybe that's pretty cool. I could see that selling, but otherwise, whatever.
Yep.
So that's it for the news. Long news segment, man. That was a lot. So we're just gonna go into what we've been playing, what we've been watching. So first up, what we've been playing. I have been playing this little game called Ixion. So Ixion is a lot like Frostpunk in a lot of ways. I don't know. I meant to look this up, but I think I heard some comparisons. So I kind of wonder if the developer is the same or something. I don't know, but Ixion is set on it's a city builder where you're building a city on like a space station or like a starship of some kind. And I'm not going to ruin the story of it in case you want to play it. But you're basically traveling around the stars, working on a mission. And what's cool about it is that it's within the starship, there are different compartments. So there are 6 compartments. And you start out in the first section, or sector 1. And then as you can upgrade and stuff, you can expand to like the next one and the next one and the next one. It costs money to expand. And then every time you expand, things get more complicated. And they get more complicated because you have to really work on your transfers. So like you have one section is doing a certain resource, and then the other section is doing another resource, but they have to like share resources in order to be able to build all the things that they need to build. So it does get pretty dicey there. I played it for like 20 hours. I've just like, I don't know what it is about these freaking city builders that I guess I never knew how much I liked them, but I really enjoy it. This one, similar to Frostpunk, it has a bit of a learning curve. At the beginning, I think Frostpunk I played for about 2 hours before I really got into the hang of it and started having fun. This one I played for 2 or 3 hours, and I almost like after the first about an hour and a half, I was like, I kind of want to return this on Steam. I don't know if I'm gonna actually like this, but once I made it past once I made it past 2 hours, I was like, well, I guess I'm in it now. And then I made it past about 4 hours, and I was like, okay, I'm really having some fun now. And from there, it's just been a ton of fun. But yeah, really enjoyable. It's definitely gonna go on my game of the year list. Might even make the top 10. I'm not sure, but it's been pretty good.
So you've been learning about yourself this year, and you learned that 2022, you've turned that masochistic, key, as it were. So yeah, now you just like the pain and you like to suffer. I see how it is. Okay.
I
So
mean,
you like you.
the city building stuff is it's the way that they do it is pretty cool. I will say that Ixion, it's not as good as Frostpunk. It's a good game, but it's not as good as Frostpunk in my opinion, because Frostpunk had this perfect way of forcing urgency on you all the time, and you just felt like you were just barely ahead. Like you had to do things just right in order to stay alive. This game will actually allow you to be slow and make mistakes for a long time, and then you'll die or lose whatever, and then you'll go like, dang, like they should have like figured out a way to kill me faster, because I have to go all the way back to this save from like 2 or 3 hours ago, or maybe like an hour ago even, in order to be able to save myself from the mistakes I was about to make. And so it's like there's a lot of, so I probably had a couple of those where it was like 30 or 40 minutes of circling the drain, when I really should have just been put out of my misery. but
So just to let you know, this is done by Bulwark,
okay,
and yeah, Bulwark Studios, and Frostpunk was done by 11-bit.
okay. I mean, they don't really feel that much alike, but I did see some comparisons to each other. And there is a, I don't know, there's a through line somehow that I felt like was there, but it's a good game. I'm definitely enjoying it. I want to play some more, but there's a lot left to play before the year's done. So I'll see what I can do. So that's pretty much what we've been playing. Joe, he was trying to get a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I've had to relocate. I've had to essentially disassemble my office to make it into a spare bedroom, and now I'm relocating my office into a corner of the downstairs living area. So it's been a whole ordeal. The amount of times like my whole setup has completely tanked. For some reason, uh, different software, different things weren't working. Discord just not wanting to work with me. Like we had to pre-plan just to stream like days ago to work out all the kinks that just magically popped up for no other reason.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, that's how it works though. Like you start moving stuff around and stuff just goes to shit. But the new setup I think is gonna work out for you pretty well. And you know, it's just one step at a time, and hopefully just it all sticks together with duct tape and super glue. Um,
yep. A wish and a dream and a prayer thrown in between. Yeah. So all right, we got here.
Hang on a
No
second.
things we've been watching though.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what we've been playing. So Joe has had a chance to watch a shitload of anime. I've been watching some anime too, but I'm not ready to talk about some of the stuff I have seen. So it's gonna be Joe holding down this part of the podcast. So take it away, Joe. What have you been watching?
All right, so I finished up a bunch of stuff, and so it's going to be a quick synopsis on a few of these. It's mostly no spoilers, just more or less boiling down to is it worth your time or not? And so the first one is going to be it was currently at this time dubbed on or subbed only. I'm sorry, it's only subbed, and it's reincarnated as a sword. So this is reincarnation isekai. Plot twist is the dude comes back as a weapon. He's a sword, unable to move himself. He has, and it's just kind of what happens in the shenanigans, and then uh, more or less kind of like the sword and the stone, in a weird way. He's just like, yeah, he's like, I'm here. This is me. Where's everyone else? Um, and it's okay. It's funny. It's a solid watch. I don't know if it's necessarily. I wouldn't put it as down as like great, but it's honestly if you decided to pick it up and watch it, I'd say it's most definitely you're gonna more or less enjoy your time. Um, it's not a full story. It's just it's kind of like it just leaves off ending their story arc, and then they're on their way, and completely open to season two. Uh, but yeah, I actually liked it more than I thought I would. So yeah, there's that. And then I watched Vermeil in Gold. This one, this one was nothing special. so
What's it about
this one
exactly?
is so it's essentially it's a fantasy setting. Guy, it's a school setting for people who are learning magic, and they're supposed to summon familiars. This kid, for some reason, is having a hard time summoning a familiar. Finds a magical tome in the library, uses that, and he summons a demon. Uh, a a voluptuous demon.
Ah,
So she pretends she hides her horns and tail and pretends to be like, oh yeah, he summoned a human, a really strong human, and it's very much in that it's the etchy like
mm,
road of it's just like yeah, it has some of those just silly uh middle school humor, I guess. And like, yeah, it's all these weird, awkward situations he's in, and it's just Yeah, it's just not very good. I ended up watching it just because it's like, well, it's dubbed, it's on, and I'm like, I'm kinda having it in the background while I'm doing something else. It The last episode, no real spoilers, it's just he ends up saying a bunch of cheesy one-liners. It's like, it is textbook, like, "Really? Can't believe you said that one, and you said that." And you said that. Alright, yeah. Yeah, it's just like, no real love for that one, so if you can, just avoid it. I honestly think if you wanna watch something where has something along those etchy factors, watch anything else. It really wasn't worth, like, and I thought it might be more funny than it was. It kinda had some, like, "Oh, yeah, maybe it would be some silly humor," and it really wasn't as good as I was hoping and never got as serious as it should have been, and it's just like, it just was lackluster all around. Just, one of those things I hope it gets better. Never got better. Uh, let's see. I ended up rewatching the first bit of I showed my wife the first bit of Chainsaw Man dubbed, and so I ended up rewatching like the first handful of episodes and being able to quick power through them. It is like one after another. Like, it is not as slow as I remember it being the first time watching it.
Yeah.
Um, And when you get to about, like, episode 5 is where it starts to pick up. Currently finished episode 8. Episode 8 gets really interesting. I'm now officially, I think, at the good stuff. And, yeah, it's, they have a great, I think episode 7 has a great, bar scene.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, that it was hilarious. And, it is what it is. I like it. I will tell people, like, especially the visuals on it, it's just something else, man. They do a really good job for animation quality. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it is an expensive show. They have definitely gone, above and beyond, like I've said before. And I think that it's good because the show does need a lot of it needs to be high quality because there's not a ton going on all the time. Uh, there is some, there's plenty of action and stuff, but a lot of the story does take place in some of the downtime. So it would be really easy for that show to have, just regular quality animation, and then the in between stuff would just feel flat and boring. But they do a really good job of keeping it interesting and making the characters feel real um, by just animating the hell out of it. And so it stays pretty interesting. I think I think it's pretty good, and I'm looking forward to some more stuff from the manga coming in and kind of spicing things up. But it is good. It is definitely good so far as I've seen too.
yeah, and then yeah, that's like one of the most of that's like one of 2 that I haven't finished yet, or that one's not even finished yet, but it's only episode 8 dubbed. Um, Finished out your boy Kong Min. That was fun. Uh, I mentioned it before, just a couple spots towards the end because they're singing or rapping, and so I had to go to a subtitled version so I can actually get to the lyrics.
Oh
But
yeah.
other than that, everything else was just fine. It was good. Um, they finish their arc. And they move on to there's a next higher goal for them to reach. Very much opening it for, like, hey, we need a season 2. Um, because they finished, like, they're like, hey, this is you need to get to this, you need to get to this venue, this is your main target, but in order to do that you have to complete this sub quest. They completed the sub quest, and that's where the series ends.
Ah,
um so you're like, okay, well, at least that had come to a conclusion, and now they're ready to go off, and next time around. So yeah, that'll be I hope they actually does get a sequel, because I'll watch it. And so yeah, you get a positive rating for me on that one. And I finished up Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon season 4. Uh Honestly, I think it's better than season 3. It had a lot more action, it was a lot more faster pace. Uh it's Uh, there was only 1 or 2 minor hiccups I had with it, but as a whole, it was like, "Yeah, okay, this is" the pacing of this one, it was very much more action oriented, and I enjoyed that. It's not I don't know if it's completely done yet, I don't know if they're doing a second half or, because I think it was only, like, 11 episodes this time around, but clearly there's more to come, but yeah, that is kind of not concluded, as it were,
It's,
so
so there'll be
but what they
more.
did
So you think there'll be like you said, there's room for more, but do you think there will be more coming on, or do
I
you?
never thought they were gonna get a season 2.
Oh,
So
okay.
and this thing keeps on pumping them out, so I'm like, "You know what? They'll probably I'm
Oh, was this
probably I
like was this one where you said that like they sped through all of the material in the manga and then they started going off on their own, or was that a different one?
No, that's a different one,
Okay.
yeah. So, so this one is just straight this one is, I'm assuming it's based off of a light novel with with that type of title,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, it was a neat concept, and the first, season was solid, then second season got more interesting. Third one, like I said, a little long in the tooth, but still alright, and then this fourth one, like I said, probably the most action heavy one they've had so far. Less drama and just more straight to the point. I'm like, all right, so if you want, so I was okay with that, and I overall like the series. So, and then the last bit I've been watching was it's an older one, well, older now, but it's the Cyberpunk Edge Runner.
A few
I
months
feel like
old,
it's
yeah.
old news at this point.
Yeah.
You know, so I picked it up again. I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and it was just kinda out of the blue. I'm like, "You know what? I kinda have" like, I watched the first 2 episodes and just kinda fell off. Like, I'll give it a shot again." And so, started watching it, and I've been enjoying it again. I'm like, "Yeah, I just" the art quality is also super solid. I love Studio Trigger. They do a very good job about being very stylized in their own unique way.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, it's just actually it's one of those things that by watching the anime, it makes me wanna get back into the game again. Because bugs aside, the storyline to that game was interesting. It had enough
I
concept there. It just was buggy and broken as get out, and it was not the best thing to run on a PlayStation 4,
well,
even though I was playing
all
on a
that
Pro.
stuff is I think all that stuff is really cleaned up now. I think
Oh, leaps and bounds better than it was before. And that's why I'm like, "Well, maybe when it drops to, like, $20 on PC, I'll pick it up on PC, but, uh,
yeah.
yeah, other than that, I'm not in a hurry to buy the game, but I am interested in playing it again. I'm afraid that the PS4 version will never quite live up to what it should what it probably shouldn't have ever came out on the PS4, to be honest. So,
No, they probably they had pushed it so long, and but yeah, they probably should have just waited for PS5 or something close to it. But I don't know. It just needed more time to cook, and they got in there. They stepped on their own tail on that one. But
yeah,
uh,
I honestly
Edge,
think if the game didn't burn so many, bridges and just make people leave a bad taste in the mouth, I think Cyberpunk Edge Runner would have been a better contender for the best adaptation for the video game awards. But when
mm,
you hear the name Cyberpunk, you just automatically kind of like sigh and a little bit cringe inside, you know. So
yeah, it is definitely. I mean, it's definitely like a turn off now. I do keep hearing about the Cyberpunk Edge Runner though. I keep hearing it's good, and I need to sit down and watch it. Because how many episodes are there? 8 or 12 or what?
I think it's 12.
Okay.
I just keep on. I don't even know what I'm on anymore. I'm just like Netflix. Continue where you left off, and but it's been enjoyable. I mean, I think they do a good job with building the universe. And like I said, the quality art is awesome. If you know, I'm trying to think. If you don't know anything about the whole cyberpunk concept, like the different worlds, the words, and like the I don't know. I'd almost say watch, Carbon, was that, Altered Carbon.
Oh yeah,
Altered Carbon season 1 is a very good TV series in general. I just really like season 1, and it's also a very good intro for those who don't know anything about the terminology or the concepts of, cyberpunk, or some of the ideology, philosophy, and stuff like that, because they do a really good job in that show of bringing up all kinds of things that are normally been in books. Um, so that helps break that ice. But this doesn't go into a lot of the depth stuff, but they do have terms in the background that you're like, you can kind of figure it out maybe if you just by context clues, but if you don't know the lingo, like what a net runner is,
Mm.
um or ice, the term ice is like synonymous for like a firewall, like a shielding for a company to help stop hackers from breaking in, so they'll have walls of ice. It's the terms that they use. But if you don't know anything about that, then it's not really the quickest to grasp, right? You're like, what are they?
Yeah.
You just don't quite get it.
Yes,
But it does make me,
100%.
like I said, it's been really giving me the urge to play the fucking game.
Yeah, I mean, cyberpunk stuff in general, just as a genre, is always really cool. It's very difficult to pull off good cyberpunk because for every good cyberpunk movie, there's probably 10 or more that are not good, and there's really not even all that many. Um, but yeah, it does have its own mythos, and that's kind of part of the cool thing about cyberpunk. I think is learning the mythos, learning the lingo and how things work together. Because once you do, you're like, oh, that is kind of cool. Like this because of this and that because of that. But yeah, it's I mean, it's good. I guess that's what the show's made to do is it's made to make money, obviously, but also make you want to go play the game. So maybe if it gets down cheap enough, you can pick it up and have a little bit of a fun time playing it.
Yeah, they did announce some DLC for it as well. That was one of the trailers for the Video Game Awards. Is some new
Yeah,
DLC coming out for it. Um, Shoot, they had someone really of note going to be in that game now too, and I'm drawing a blank right now. Um, but yeah, it's just they got another celebrity. They're like, yeah, check out this. I'm like, I think it was Idris Elba. It's
they
always
did.
Idris Elba
It
now.
was Idris Elba.
Yeah.
It's always Idris Elba. You're right. He's in it. He's like some dude named LaCroix or something.
He really likes water. I don't know,
He
man.
really likes his
But
water. He talks like this all the time.
But yeah, it's just I mean, the fact they pulled him down. I'm like, oh wow, okay, that's pretty neat. Um, so once again, I'll wait. I'll end up. I have enough patience. I'll wait for all the DLC to drop and then buy the Game of the Year edition when it's $10.
When they're giving it away.
No, but it's just I don't know. I originally played it. I originally checked it out from the library and played it early.
Yeah,
Back when it was still super buggy.
I bet.
Um, and I put in quite a few hours into it
You
actually.
fucker, you would.
And I kind of liked it. It was just if it wasn't if it wasn't so damn broken. So yeah, now I think it's perfectly acceptable. It should it's probably at the state it should have been launched in originally, and that's it, man. I've watched a lot of things. Haven't finished it, but if I honestly, if you like Studio Trigger, then you're obviously gonna watch this. If you like sci-fi, cyberpunk, yeah, then go for it. Be careful watching it around your parents' kids, because there are some boobies in there. So,
Boobies.
you just don't be like, it's a cartoon, and all of a sudden be like,
Oh no.
boobies and brains, blood splatter, and you're like, yeah, you're gonna be banned from Netflix.
It ain't that kind of cartoon, kiddies. So
So
watch out. All right. Well, I think that does it for everything that we've been watching and playing and the Game Awards and all that crap. Um, so yeah, with that, the pod has been cast. Joe, what did you learn today?
I learned you get embarrassed very easily by simple things like mouse pads.
There you have it, folks. All right. That's our show, and we'll see you next time.
All right, guys, take it easy. Remember, don't dox yourself.
Don't dox yourself. Gosh. All right. Bye bye. Hello, and welcome to another Dead Pixel, the podcast that has won all of its lawsuits. I want to restart this. I'm sorry.
2 weeks in a row for you, fucker.
Fuck you, man. Shut up. We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
I forgot who that was.
Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll do it live. Okay. Okay.